Welcome to Walk and Talk, theoretically asked questions. I am your host, Sodi.
And I'm your co-host Trina, and we present to you Walk and Talk,
Walk
the
and Talk,
podcast.
the podcast. I don't know what would my person be. Um, I don't know how to identify how to identify, okay, yeah, this is my person by some type of action, aside from don't mess up and do nothing crazy. I
I think
don't know.
that's a general thing for anybody, but
Mhm.
figuring out who your person is, I think, would have to come over time for me. It's not like a one-stop thing where I'm like, I've heard so many different lines. I've heard
Mhm.
and honestly, like anyone can do that. It's the follow through that's it for me. And the person that keeps showing up and keeps showing up and actually backing up
Uh-huh.
what they're saying.
Yeah.
That's the thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also, do you hear echo by any chance?
No.
Okay, I just hear like a huge echo. I'm hoping that the recording is not echoey. Anyway, I would think that you would just know, like your body has its natural senses that detect that connection, that natural connection with someone else. I'm a huge believer of that on how your body reacts to someone else's energy that we can't see and we can't touch, right? It's
Right.
just this in the vicinity. And to me, that's real because if you don't get that feeling, you don't get that 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 like electricity, like that energy from that person, it's just not gonna it just doesn't work. You could do whatever. It could be, face value. Although those things are important. Like, are you a gentleman? Men nowadays they don't really, for example, as simple as don't open the door for a lady. Or when they
Mhm.
open the door, they go in first, and then the lady come in second, like something to that extent. I've seen that so many times when I go to the stores or the mall or something like that, and it's really like sure
Yeah.
parents teach you better,
Mm.
makes you question. It goes as
Honestly,
simple as that. You start
it
thinking.
is. It is. It's very simple. And I think that that's been lacking a lot,
Hmm.
especially in different cultures.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's a whole different topic in itself because
Hmm.
there's just some people that just I mean, there's how they don't know what they don't know. They don't see it.
Yeah.
They weren't raised with it. So, you know, but at the same time, I'm like, well, there's social media now. They tell you all about how to be a gentleman. And then there, of course,
Hmm.
for females, like stepping into your feminine energy. And
Hmm.
and for me, that it's been kind of difficult. I mean, growing up, my mom was a single mom for a while, but when my stepdad came into our lives, he kind of just went into that role of opening doors for my mom, like being the person that's driving, being the person that was like the head of the household. It was a culture shock for us. I mean, going from
Yeah.
having a single mom that does everything to someone that's doing that, we're
Yes.
like,
Absolutely.
what is this? And then
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
mind, I was like individual, like I was this independent person and stubborn. I mean, I'm still am, but um,
Aren't we all?
yeah,
Well, let's
yeah,
speak for ourselves, right?
yeah.
So what it is, so I just looked up the word because I don't know how to say it properly, and I'm probably going to butcher it. Is it chivalry?
Chivalry,
She chivalry, right?
chivalry.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. So that's in Spanish, caballerismo, right? So
yes.
when a gentleman is being a gentleman to a lady, and I feel like we live in ancient years. Well, not even. I think I'm gonna take that back. Ancient years, you know, gentlemen were more had more chivalry than today, right?
Yes.
And but the current generation, the Gen Zers, in some way I see it more with them than millennials. Is that crazy to say?
No, it's not. It's not. And I'll say this, it also depends, and I've said it before, like, it depends
Mhm.
on the culture.
Yeah,
It truly does. Culture,
yeah.
and I'm not talking about race, I'm talking about the kind of culture they were raised with. I mean, people from
Hmm.
different parts of the country,
Yeah.
parts of the world, like it's just different. Because there's some cultures where female is completely sitting in the back and
Mhm.
like have to completely follow
Yeah.
everything the man does, and it's a little
Mhm.
different.
And religion too. Religion too.
That that
Religion.
so
Yeah. It plays a big part too. I think I've been, not I think I know I've lived it in a way, to a certain extent. Depending on the religion, men tend to be more tender with women, and more careful with, depending on the religion, of course.
mhm,
Um, and they're more attentive to our feelings and our needs, and how we should be treated with respect and love and caring, based on the religion or their culture. I mean, not every, again, it all depends on how they were raised and, their environment, their
mhm.
past. Nonetheless, I must say that can also change. People evolve. You could grow up in the most messed up or the most loving home
Yeah.
and be an a-hole, right?
Yes,
It's the
yes.
truth. It's the truth. You can have the perfect parents, never, you know, and or the perfect childhood, and you still come out to be an a-hole and not know, but not know, but not want to be, a gentleman to your lady, or respect ladies in general, right?
Yeah.
So it does play a big part.
Hmm.
That's when we switch, right? That's kind of what we're talking, the feminine energy and the masculine energy that we have to bring out, because we feel that we need to shield ourselves from this type of behavior.
Yes, yes. And honestly, I think for me, I think I've been a single parent for a majority of being a parent. And
Yeah.
I've had no choice but to hone into my masculine energy, meaning, what does that mean? For one, means I am taking the lead of everything. I'm disciplining. I'm making sure everything is right. Everyone's acting right. Everyone's on time. And
Yeah.
that's how I was raised. What the masculine energy is, like being the one in charge, being the one to make all the decisions,
Hmm.
or like having the final say. And I think I brought
Hmm.
this up to you. I'm like, I'm afraid of when I actually meet someone that has that masculine energy, if I'm going to be able to allow that, because I'm going to have to share that responsibility. And
Hmm.
it's like, whoa, this is my territory. What are you doing?
I
and
think a lot of.
and
Hmm.
that's what I did go through with my ex-husband, where he was trying, he was legitimately trying to be that masculine figure. And but my kids were just used to me. They were just used to
Yeah,
me, and
absolutely.
they were like, oh, I mean, and it's the same thing I went through too, was what is this person doing? Like, who the heck are you? And because that was my point of view when my stepdad came into our lives, and we were like,
Yeah, yeah. It's a
I'm going to my
process.
mom. If I'm gonna if I
Uh-huh.
have a question, I'm going to my mom. And then when my mom started saying, go ask him and see what he says. And I'm like,
Hmm.
why?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I'm asking you. I've always
Mm.
asked you.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I know, I mean, with blended families, that's a whole process in itself. And I think that's something you have to discuss while you're
Yeah.
dating ahead of time, like what our roles will be in the house, especially if you decide to move forward with marriage.
Hmm.
Um, and granted, my kids
That's
are
a good point.
yeah, my kids are much older now.
Hmm.
And so I feel like that'll be a little easier when
Hmm.
the next relationship starts. But I mean,
Yeah, that comes with maturity and experience. That those are another type of stuff that everyone talks about. You focus on the love and the relationship, and let's all get along with each other, and let's play this big happy family. But really, don't have them take the time to sit down and say, "Okay, well, this is my role, this is your role," even though it's like implied, right? It doesn't really work that way because there's different family dynamics. For
mhm,
example, like you're stating, in which I've been a huge part of as well in your life and in my life as well. We've been single mothers for many years, more so since we had our kids than none. And bringing someone into our lives, especially a husband, right, and combining the family together and not having a conversation saying, "Well, this is how things were done," because of I've been the head of household for such a long time, and I've been on my own for such a long time. Where do we compromise? Let's just talk it out so we can be on the same page. Like, not everyone has that conversation. And
mhm.
I believe that it's okay sometimes not to, because things do play out naturally.
Yeah.
Um, but it is it is ideal and it's very smart. You hit the bull on the head. It is very smart to have that conversation, especially when it's a blended family, Hispanic family. Like, what did you not like? We are tough women,
Mhm.
like Hispanic women. We are in Latin, Latinx women. We're all very strong and strong-willed and independent. But when we are forced to be independent and be the head of household because we didn't have a choice, right? Like kind of like us, it's really hard to let go of that because you feel vulnerable.
Mhm. Mhm.
We were both young mothers, still are very young, raising children who are becoming adults, young adults. And it is hard to give in and say, you know what? Yeah, you manage the finances and you manage X, Y, and Z. And it's like
Mhm.
gives me anxiety. Like, what?
Yes. You had
Like,
you said exactly like that's the thought of like my I'm just like feeling oh Lord.
yeah, right? Like, no, wait a minute now. What do we do with this? Well, you want
Mm,
to wear the pants and the skirt, the relationship. You can't have it all. Oh, wait a minute now. Like, we're together. Let's work things out. Let's talk about this. I'm not trying to make you feel little. I don't
yeah,
want you to make me feel little, in a way, because we have a power and we have a weakness. And the weakness is that everyone, and it's not really a weakness, I'm misspeaking here, but a disadvantage per se. It is how women are looked at in the entire world. We
yeah.
are looked at as just nurturing, very sensitive and mothers, and that's it.
But I
When
think
it comes,
that also goes from the Bible too, and that is
mm,
where for me, that's my foundation where I see like the man is the one that's going to the work and he's doing all these things
yeah,
and the female is a nurturer, and
hmm,
you just fall into that place,
yeah,
and that's the thing where I enjoy doing it. I'm at my best when I'm doing that, when I'm into my feminine state where I mean, it
hmm,
sounds weird. We're like, you're female. Why wouldn't you be a female feminine state? Like, it's hard to. It's not hard, but it's an adjustment coming from, being this hard ass to being like
uh,
softening,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's always an adjustment where my kids will always stop. Like, just a second ago, you were just blah, and then this next one, you're like, she's so sweet and nurturing. They're like, pick one, mom. I'm like, I have to do both. I'm sorry.
You
Like,
could be both. Yeah,
yes,
you,
and
you could definitely be both.
it's I mean there's times I'll be honest, like this week was I had a day where I was just really emotional where I'm like I just thought like I don't want to have to be in this masculine energy all the freaking time because it feels
Yeah,
exhausting, because it is
it is.
exhausting. It's not my
It is.
natural It's not
No.
my natural state because I just want to be a nurturer. But when I have to
Mm-hmm.
switch over, it's like, I just wish there was someone else that could handle this part. And so I can just be the nurturer and the comforter versus the
Yeah.
discipliner and no, it's disciplining is necessary. It's again a part of the
Yeah.
Bible. You have to discipline.
Yeah.
But
Like we should have somebody to come cut my grass every weekend, just, and then come cuddle me at night and give me
yes.
some sugar. Be your masculine self. Show me your abs.
I don't know about that, but
And hopefully he has some abs, okay? I mean, hidden somewhere in there.
abs is not important. Okay. I mean,
I mean,
honestly,
everyone has them
they,
somewhere. They got them, I'm just saying.
they have abs. I mean, if it's covered a little bit, I mean, look,
Like
so
complaining.
no,
Like, I'll take it. I'll take
no.
it. Oh man. No, I agree 100%. Like I do want to also have that feminine side more often than none. But, our lives depend on the 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 blended version of ourselves with the feminism and being masculine in a way. And I think I believe and I know that that's okay. It works
Oh
for
yeah,
me.
it does. It
you
does.
know Nowadays it's really hard to just be feminine, especially in the industry that we're in, and what we do and who we're raising. We're raising a generation that is very tough and
Hmm.
outspoken, and they have a mind of their own, literally.
Not just
Yeah.
that, they're not afraid to say, call you out. They're
No,
not afraid to call you out right now.
no,
Um,
no.
and I have to let's give ourselves a little credit on this and where I'm about to say.
Yeah.
I I think a couple months ago I had brunch with a few friends and we were talking about people we've dated in the past and different age groups and different, what there's a few of us were single and or
Hmm.
dating or we were just talking about that topic of men and their feminine and masculine energies. And
Mm.
the thing that we all agreed on was men who were raised by single women, single moms,
Hmm.
were more attentive, more emotional, more, you know,
Hmm.
there are more of a gentleman to them because,
Yeah.
and I said, well, something my son told me, he said, well, mom, I want you to be treated a certain way, so I'm going to show that in the person I'm with. And I see that with him and his girlfriend. They're
Mhm.
young. So I
Yeah.
thought to myself,
Yeah,
I'm like,
of course.
I'm doing something right. But
You're doing
and
a fantastic job.
yes, and you too. And I see that in your boys, where even your middle child, he's always been this gentleman from the time I
Yeah.
met him, I think at
Yeah.
2 or 3.
Hmm.
Always
Hmm.
being like,
It's
no,
true.
go ahead, go ahead. And just
Yeah.
seeing that, I just thought, okay, we need to see that more of that. It shouldn't matter
Hmm.
how they're raised or if they're coming from a
Yeah.
single parent household and
Right.
and honestly, it starts with what we do. We can talk about all
Yeah.
the society and cultures and everything, but
Absolutely.
it starts with
Absolutely.
us and what
Yeah.
we command. And I think that's where we need to bring our masculine energy to say, okay, this is what my expectations are
Hmm.
because this is who I am and my feminine energy,
Yeah.
and I like for
And
that to be our dynamic and being having that open communication about that.
hmm
I think
Well, let
that
me flip it though. You think what? Sorry.
no, go ahead. I want to hear.
It- I notice now that I'm thinking about it, most people that I attract or that I've actually dated in some way, shape, or form. So residual form, but so funny. They are raised by single mothers. And this mother suckers end up cheating. People I know that have dated men that were raised just by women, they're all that very gentle and caring and all this other stuff. But they are the biggest players. It's like you get to a point that you know from the get-go that women like to chivalry and it's the right thing to do. And all of a sudden you have all these women just wanting to, get a piece of you in some way to perform because, oh, he's so kind and loving and oh, I love his energy and oh my God, and those
they're
and
just
then
trying to close the deal. What do you
right. And then
think?
well, and they just don't know what to do. Like, why am I
Yeah.
getting all this attention? Like, might as well take advantage of it and then just get on a habit of, doing what they're and that goes for women too. Just saying, I was I'm not gonna say how I was raised. I just
Honestly, I have had the opposite, where I've only dated men that were raised in a household where they loved each other, their parents loved each other, or they were married. I mean, however
and they
it
still
was at
cheat.
home. Yeah. So I'm gonna say everyone cheats.
Oh
Let
my
me
God, that's funny.
everyone. I think it comes down to your values.
Oh man,
Um,
it does.
we're
I'm just
all
messing with you.
yeah.
It
But
it really
no,
does.
I see what you mean though. It comes down to a personal choice. It comes down to a personal choice of,
Hmm.
how you want to be. I mean, we can all be raised by in different ways, but ultimately
Yeah,
it's up to us how we want to be. If we were raised in
absolutely.
a very unstable environment where your parents all the time, or they were never home, they're never spending time with each other, they
Hmm.
never showed public display of
Hmm.
affection, you might want to decide, okay, you know what, that's not how I want to be in my marriage or
Yeah.
relationship or situation. That's
Situationships. What?
oh well,
She said blah 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 blah. Situationship.
yeah, yes. Um, but I mean, really, it's down to your own values at the end of the
True.
day. Um, but in going into your feminine energy, that topic, and I think for me, what's helped me to get back into that or to shift easier has been my self-care. Has absolutely been my son, and I have not always been great with that. And
Hmm.
it was something I recognized where I need to back up because
Hmm.
I'm attracting men that um were just like, well, you're used to doing all this stuff, and then they just let me. And at first I thought, okay, that's what I am. I want this. I want to keep my individuality. But then as I've gotten older, I've realized like, no, this is exhausting. I don't want to be
So do
this
you
all the time.
okay, so do you think that in your opinion that we always attract men based on how we feel about ourselves
Yes.
all the time?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I do.
Why? I'm curious.
Well, I'll go back to, I'll just say a few years ago. I was only attracting guys that were just I'll go by how I was feeling by myself. I'll start there.
Okay. So based on that feeling, what do you think made you go to not attract, but go towards that type of person or whatever type of person you thought you were attracting?
I don't know. I don't know.
Just think it's that energy in the vicinity I was talking about earlier. It's just attracting. Uh,
Honestly, I don't think I valued myself enough. I didn't think that I deserved best because I wasn't feeling good about myself.
so you
Because
settled.
I settled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So who
You
I
just
was
set off. Okay.
attracting, it was more, I just wasn't in a good place. And
Yeah.
that was the reality of it.
Yeah.
When I look back, when I, as I was going through in the last couple of years of therapy, I just didn't
Mm-hmm.
value myself enough.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
I was going more for what they were telling me versus the
Mm-hmm.
things that I valued.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's a good point. Um, Truthfully, how we feel about ourselves does dictate a lot of how our life is going to go and the relationships that we entertain. It does, truly. You know, we have different seasons of our lives. Um, and during those seasons, we shift. We shift. Some of us stay, pretty leveled. Some of them don't, depending on the personality and our experiences or whatnot. But I do believe in that statement, and I agree with you. We do attract how we attract people based on how we feel about ourselves, right? Because if you feel less then you are going to get somebody, or you're going to get with someone
mhm,
that is going to make you feel a little bit more than what you feel, not what you are. And they could be very detrimental to your life.
yeah,
It could be
yeah,
someone that is like you're right here and they're right here, but so you can feel right up here, you stoop down to their level just to get to that point in your mind and in your emotions. But truly, you're not there. You're way past that, right? So yeah, self-care does help. It's very important to do that. And meditation, I know we've talked about a lot of that. Mental health is very important. And
yes, yes.
acknowledging that we have to take care of ourselves first before we put out all all of it out in the world,
Mhm.
and take care of everyone else and give our time to anyone else, because energy, it's real, period.
Oh yeah.
it's
That's why
it's real.
I'm super picky about my energy now
Yeah,
more than ever because
absolutely.
each time you entertain energy that isn't matching yours or is
Hmm.
draining,
Hmm.
it can set you back months or years. And
Absolutely.
it can take it not can, it will take time to recover and to rediscover because it's changed who you are.
Yeah.
No matter, you can't keep saying, I want to go back to who I was, or you can't do that. You've changed.
No.
Every
Yeah.
experience you've been through, whether it's heartache, whether it's happy, being happy, whether it's just whatever the case, it changes who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because I find myself a little bit more apprehensive about and being more careful
Mm-hmm.
about who I share my energy with. I
Yeah,
don't respond to
as you should.
everybody. Yeah, and you're
Yeah,
supposed to. You're supposed to, but I don't.
you're responsible for yourself. You should.
Yeah, everyone that anyone that keeps saying I want to make my wife happy. I mean, honestly, it's great. That's a great thing to do.
Yeah.
You want to make your spouse happy, but
Yeah.
you got to make yourself happy first. Your happiness is from within, and if your spouse is struggling with that, there's time where you can shift some of that to help them,
Hmm.
but you can't
Yeah.
carry them. You can't carry
Hmm.
them, and that was what I
Yeah.
was always trying to do, was carrying, being feeling like I'm responsible for the other person when
Mm.
you're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
You're
It goes
not.
back to like there's some people that say, "Oh, I wish it would go back to old times, the old you, the one I fell in love with." So again, it goes back to, yeah, you do attract, you know, how you feel. And at that time, you probably were feeling amazing, but things are not going so well. And then now you're kind of just lost yourself in that relationship, or, that feeling, or whatever it may be, right? So how do you get back to that?
Mm,
Baby steps, the self-care, acknowledging that that's happening and just doing whatever works for you to get you back to that point, or not back to that point, but to evolve and grow, because you have to continuously work on yourself and redefine who you are. It doesn't necessarily have to be who you were yesterday.
No,
That's another thing that
no.
people, oh, well, I was so tough and I wanted to, I'm the head of the household and what I say goes. And I have to keep everything, tight and neat. And no, you know what? Sometimes it's okay to evolve and say, you know what? I'm going to delegate this today. I'm not going to get that done. And if I have a
Mhm.
partner, let's sit down. Let's just let's have a plan together. Because I really doing all this stuff is very exhausting. And quite frankly, I've been doing this for too long. And now you're on board. Now you're part of my life. Let's sit down and have a chat and see how we can just pull all of this apart and how we can contribute in one another's life
Yes.
and each other's life.
And not just that, take breaks, take vacations together and
Oh
apart
my gosh, that is so important.
and
Yes.
apart. Because
Yeah.
I think we get so used to, and we fall into different habits because we're humans, we fall into habits. But I think when you stir it up and you try to shake it up and try to get realigned with whatever you want to do, whether, I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
not just in your relationship, it's any goals, any, when you're,
Mm-hmm.
if you're in a weight loss journey, you got to change it up because your body
Yeah,
gets
yeah,
used to it and you got to shock it. And it's the same thing with relationships where you have to
absolutely.
take breaks.
It's a good
You,
analogy.
yes, you have to.
That's
And,
good.
and that's how I am and will approach things, because
Mm-hmm.
I think that was, I mean, I've read this somewhere where someone said, why should I take relationship advice from single people
Mm-hmm.
or divorced people because their relationship didn't fail, or the
Right.
relationship clearly didn't work out. Well, because it's failed, we now have a lot of insight about what went
Exactly.
wrong. Because
Yeah,
if you don't come to, like, if you don't tackle a problem or situation about what went wrong to reapproach it to make it successful, I mean, that's what you do with the business plan. That's what you do with
yeah,
your
yeah,
weight loss journey. Why is it any
absolutely.
different with your personal relationship? If
Oh,
something
yeah.
triggered you or something didn't work, perfect
Mm-hmm.
thing is to go backwards,
Yeah,
dissect it and see what went
yeah.
wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and realize, is this something that was it something I could have done, something that they could have
Mm-hmm.
done? If
Yeah,
not, or if yes, then let's come up with a solution. If not, let's come up with another solution.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah.
I agree with that 100%, honestly. Unless you're a crazy, bitter person who has not gotten over the situation, please do not take advice from those people because they just need to heal. it's just, it's just pure venom,
Yes,
and it's
yes.
throwing up a bunch of nonsense onto you. So be careful. Protect your energy at all costs. You have to be
Mhm.
selective with the people you talk about your personal and most deepest problems with, because not everyone wants has your best interest, and not everyone has the healthy mental balance to have those types of conversations. Failure is success. Period. Failure is success because it means you tried.
Mhm. Yes.
When it's not successful is when you don't try. That's true failure. But failure, when you do something and it failed, that means you tried. And because you tried and it failed, now you know what to do. Like you said, now you know what to do different, because now
Yeah.
you're able to, like you stated, dissect the situation, analyze yourself, first of all, not the other person. Because that's another thing we do as human beings. We focus on the other person too much. Oh, this
Oh
didn't
yeah.
work out because he was
Because he
X,
did
Y, and
this.
Z. She was
Yes.
X, Y, and Z. What's girlfriend,
It's easy to point
boyfriend?
the
Let me
finger. It's easy to point the
no.
finger and look
Yeah,
outward versus inward, because looking inside, that's a lot of work. When it's easy, just like, oh yeah, he did this, he did this, he did this, blah blah blah
Yeah,
blah blah. But in reality, you probably were a part of the problem too.
exactly.
So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and I
So to
will
wrap it
outright
up,
say, outright say, I am, I have my flaws too. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. We are far from perfect, and that's okay because that's what makes us unique. And we continue to evolve and learn from other people, learn from about ourselves through other people and
yes.
experiences. And as long as we acknowledge that, we can move on and pass it down in a positive way. So we're not one of those toxic people
Yes. Yes.
spreading negative energy. Yeah. But to wrap it up, I want to just say that it's let's make sure that we everyone listening, man or female, seriously, it's just combine that feminine and masculine energy. Have that conversation when you decide to have that partner, whether you have children or not. You know, you could just be single forever and having your own place, your own space, your own
Mhm.
routines that you don't want to break. Well, you know what? If you have a partner and you want a serious relationship, let's sit down and let's talk about it. This is what I have going on, and I'm not willing to give up this because it brings something positive. It adds to my life. Would you like
Yes.
to join me in it? Or can I take, I'm going to organize my time enough that I can, when I make the time to do this. Okay. So boundaries, creating those boundaries, right? And, but always having a conversation, but it's good to have that blend. You know, too much of one thing can be
Mhm.
detrimental to your persona and to the relationship and to other people. So having a balance, especially when you are in a relationship, truly helps. Have those tough conversations. They are uncomfortable, but in Spanish they say,
Communication.
yeah, communication. In Spanish they say, uno se entiende hablando. We all understand each other by talking, right? And it sounds silly, but it's true. It's so simple, but we don't do it, right? We
Yes.
really don't.
Yes.
We just assume, assume. Come on, it's enough of that. Enough of
Yes.
that.
Well,
So
great. Great topic. I love this.
great topic. Thank you so much for listening. So glad to be back. Miss you
Yes.
all. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, listen, and Spotify. Listen to our podcast every other week.
Yes. Thank you.